course, wearing the Turkish blue leaders jersey. So it'll be a battle between those two, and possibly for control of one or other of the jerseys. Edward Turns has not been at his quickest, but with the climbs factored in today, he may well sustain those better than Sam Bennett. I think that's their hope. So expect Trek Segafredo to do a bit more attacking work, perhaps a little bit earlier on than you've seen so far, and leaving Edward Turns, maybe Boy Van Poppel and Carl Reinen to try and deliver at the very end. Sam Bennett's in his pomp, nice and relaxed today, and one can expect him to be very much a feature at the pointy end. It depends on these pesky climbs and as to whether he's going to be more affected by them than the likes of Edward Turns. There are some good climbers who could go quickly as well in the peloton. CCC Sprandi's Jonas Koch, and he has been, the young German has had some good sterling work done by Sprandi to catch our breakaway, which has established itself. It's only 3 riders. So they're leaving the marinas of the great and the good. Well, certainly the very wealthy. There's some spectacular boats down harbour side. And indeed, you see our chase with Rilia Triestina believing in Manuel Belletti and Liam Battazzo as his lead-out man. I think they certainly have an option today. And with the climbs that have been factored in, I think it opens up a little bit, Brian, for other names other than Sam Bennett today. I'm not saying Sam won't be there, I think he will be, but there's other options today due to the terrain.
Exactly. Excuse me. We've had one second category climb already today. There is only one categorised climb, although Carlton's already said in the run-in there's some lumps and bumps all the way, and the last climb tops off with about 7 kilometres to go, and then they shoot into Marmaris round the town and onto the marina to finish. And looking at today's stage, we've already seen that over the last couple of stages, Trek Segafredo and Bora Hansgrohe sharing the work at the front for their 2 sprinters, and having been beaten convincingly twice. It was a perfect lead out for Toynes yesterday, but he still couldn't beat the fast finishing Sam Bennett. So they had an option today, and I think for Bora, the team meeting could have gone, make sure Trek's not in the breakaway today, because they'll help us chase. Well, we've got a rider from Trek in the breakaway today, so I think a mistake from Bora Hansgrohe, especially at the start, to allow a rider from Trek Segafredo into the break, because I think what Trek Segafredo are trying to do is heap the pressure on Bora Hansgrohe. The race already knows that he's the fastest sprinter here. It could possibly help, suit him in the finish today. And so it heaped on the pressure for the first part of this stage today. We were over the top of the climb, and this was another opportunity, and I've seen it happen in this stage before, where we hit that second category climb and the race is blown apart because of the hard tempo, and all of a sudden there's been 2 bunches and they've not come together in the run into Marmaris. And we've had some good successful sprints here in the past. Are we going to see this today? I think we will, but it won't be the complete peloton. On that rise up towards the finish in the last 10 kilometres, if Trek Segafredo want to try and win with Edward Toynes today, then they have to distance Sam Bennett, because he's already shown 2 stages he's the fastest, and if they can distance him on that last climb, then they're in with a chance. But Bora Hansgrohe pressure on them, but looking at the front of the peloton now, they do have help from 2 other teams now.
Heading out to get some eels, Brian. They've got a few of them here. Yeah, your eel pie. Not Eel Pie Island, that's in London. Yes, Gregory Daniel is up the road for Trek Segafredo, and he's a great foil for the team to have up there, because it means that their need to chase, they've got an excuse, and he's their joker, if you like, and here he is, dead centre of this trio. Joining him are Samli on the Turkish national team, former champion back in 2014. He was a youngster then. In fact, he was 19 when he won it. That was in 2014. He's just turned 23, by the way. So yeah, very good time trialist as well. Has been twice runner-up in the nationals. I think was this year as well. So he's a good engine room to have. The young Turk at the back here, with just in front of him the aforementioned Gregory Daniel. Won the Tour of Beauce last year, I think it was, the American. But yeah, he's a solid rider, and especially in a situation such as this, he's a good man to use And use him they most certainly are. Thomas de Rit is the other from De Ruyter from Belgium, the 22-year-old. He's also a time trialist and not bad either. In fact, in the Chrono des Nations, despite being a young man, that was taken by Kirienka, I think. Yeah, he finished, got himself a solid top 20 there. Wasn't that far off, and beat some very, very well-known individual time trialists. So 2 time trialists up the road, and Gregory Daniel also likewise. So just under the 75 k's to go marker. Temperatures today have ebbed a little bit because we're more coastal, but there's no wind. Yesterday it was nudged around 30, but it certainly feels rather pleasant, Brian.
It's 32 today.
What? You know, this air conditioning is foxing me.
Yeah, we had the weatherman Fauzi just messages us on his very expensive gadget he's got, and in the shade it's 32 today.
His mooseometer. There we are. Well, they did start off today. I was suspecting it was going to be very warm because they were unzipped and ready for action, as it were. They were plenty of jerseys flapping in the wind, just heading towards the 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So temperatures are starting to ebb ever so slightly. Nonetheless, nice and warm. Marmara is our destination, and a pacey approach. Looking forward to it, Brian.
Yes, indeed, and the reason why Julia Tristina are riding on the front and helping out, it was a bit of a gamble from Bora Hansgrohe. They had one rider on the front, but Julia Tristina have come up because they have got a former winner. Manuel Belletti won this stage in 2011.
We'll take a break, back in a moment. 70 kilometres to go. And a lot of work being done today by Vilja Triestina. And yeah, it's not kind of as you were, is it? Bora are having to, well, they've put a rider towards the front here to buy the right to fight later on, but they're leaning on others. The United Arab Emirates team would like something out of this race likewise. This is Ilya Koshevoy of Vilja, by the way, back to the blood golden coal. Liam Tatso is their lead-out man. You're looking at Koshevoy at the moment, but Belletti, yeah, why not? He's moving back to Androni Zajdemek Botekia next year. But yeah, he's not bad at this kind of climb, and he's been very good at positioning. In fact, he's had some very good results. He was 6th yesterday, so Willia clearly believe that factoring the climb, it gives them other opportunities. There are some quick men who can go up inclines. Jonas Koch is one of those for Sprandi Polkovici. So you'll see the orange boys towards the 4. Cesar will be leading him out today on the, if he can keep up, because Koch is the better climber, the young German. Edward Prades from Caja Rural is their option. Likewise, he can get up an incline, which he's going to have to do. Ahmed Orkan as well can sustain a bit of climbing. And apparently he is local to Marmaris, so knows the roads inside out. And he's got the likes of Turkish champion Onur Balkan, who can lead him in. Consoni for UAE Emirates. I think that's why they're doing a lot of work. Marco Kump went bump on stage 1. Has he recovered? We're not sure. If he has, he could be a choice because he's not bad at inclines. But Consoni certainly is. He is a good climber, and of all the fast men, he's probably the best climber that we've got here. So yeah, I think that Edward Tones has got a big opportunity today, or especially as they've got somebody up the road. So they've gone quiet. Bora being forced to do a modicum of work. It suits them at the moment, but 4.5 minutes. They're going to have to get that back at some point, and they're riding well, the trio up front. We've got a couple of time trialists there, and a man from the engine room of Trek Segafredo, Gregory Daniel. And I think that this is going to be more of a task than it has been in the last couple of days. And you can see the reasonable urgency, Brian, for those teams that haven't got anything yet. They want something now, thank you.
Well, that's it. Bora Hansgrohe relied on. They've relied on the other teams, and 2 teams have popped up. UE at the front in the red helmets, and Willia Tristina, who we've just been talking about. And you take that gamble sometimes, but Bora Hansgrohe, 2 stages, and I've decided that they won't get involved with the attacks. The first attack of the day was with the Turkish rider Samli, and he took with him Gregory Daniel, the Trek Segafredo rider. And it was a moment afterwards that the rider for Veron Classic, he decided to join them. And when he did join up, we had another attacker from the Brazil team, but he never made it across. So we've got 3 riders in front, and they got a maximum of about 6.5 minutes. And it was only Bora Hansgrohe was riding at the front. We went over a second category climb. With the races split up quite considerably in the past, but today it was just a tempo climb. Nobody really wanted to take on the reins on the climb. Nobody wanted to try and split it up. The only team that could have considered that was Trek Segafredo, and they had a rider in the breakaway. So they're just kind of sitting back waiting. I think their time will come on this final climb. When we turn left with about 29 kilometres to go, we'll go up a climb, then it kind of rolls, then it goes up again. I think Trek, if they want to try and win with Towns, they have to take it to Sam Bennett, who can get over some of these climbs. So it'll be an interesting one if he manages to stay there. But the climb was taken by the Veron Classic rider Dervetti. He took the maximum points. Samley was second, and Gregory Daniel was third. But the interesting thing is Miko Maestre, who was in the break yesterday, took the King of the Mountains jersey and took the only point on offer today, so it increases his lead.
If Sam suffers, and some of the fast men have already suffered, Benfato has already been bitten on one of the climbs. I don't know whether he managed to get back in, but he was certainly rocking and rolling with the punches a little bit earlier on before we came to air. So he wasn't in a comfortable place. It's interesting how these jerseys can sustain this kind of distortion. Zandos Stalnov, it looks like he may well be going for a record here. Some jerseys are more inclined to stretching and getting back into shape than others, but yeah, you can put them out of shape, quite frankly. Brian lent me one of his jerseys. I tried it on and then gave it back to him. It was very much out of shape by the time he tried again. He's looking very aquiline, Brian, of late. He's working hard to stay in shape, and that's good. It's a good thing. 66.2 kilometres then. It's 4 minutes and 12. They've found a bit of pace about them, the chase. It's too much of a gap, really, to be allowed to hang there too long, especially with more or less unpredictable terrain for some of them. Gosh, look at this, the troglodytic temples of the locale, absolutely spectacular. The Dalian Royal Tombs, indeed. And so there's been some bones laid down in there over the centuries, absolutely gorgeous. Dalian, its international fame was in 1987, apparently, when developers wanted to build a luxury hotel. And the World Heritage Fund, I believe, got in touch and said, you can't do that because there's loggerhead turtles here. And yeah, apparently it was a major international storm. Do you remember David Bellamy, the naturalist with the fuzzy beard and the very distinctive way of speaking? I seem to remember he had a bit of a fat tongue, but anyway, David Bellamy, he championed the cause and basically stopped it being built. And do you know who actually stopped it first outright? Was Prince Philip, bless him. Yes, so anyway, it's been declared a World Heritage Centre, not just because of the tombs, but also because of the loggerheads. After the world, I wonder where we got loggerheads from. The argument, I'm guessing. 65 kilometres then from home. When were those tombs built, Brian?
Oh, good question. Off the top of my head, I think it was the 2nd century AD.
Good guess.
But
you read ever so well.
This type of tomb is generally dated to the period from the 2nd century BC. So it's in that period of time. There's actually 6 tombs in the Dalian rock tombs here. So there's 6 of them. And a temperature inside, Brian? In the shades, it was 32, but it's now down to about 28 now.
And in the tombs, nice and cool. They've built them with a sort of a shaded view, so they don't heat up. Last thing you need is King, whatever his name is, getting toasty once they've laid him to rest. As you can see, it's a bit quiet. 3 minutes and 50. We'll be back in a moment, along with Brian. He's actually going to go. Brian's. We're going to do a feature called Brian's Nuts. Today, he's going to go for almonds, apparently, coated in sugar. Sugar-coated almonds. Looking forward to them.
You actually don't need a lot because the almonds are quite sweet anyway, so you don't really have a lot of kind of sugar on them. So I'm going to try and go kind of au natural, I think, today.
Oh, that'd be nice. That'd be nice. Yeah, if you wouldn't mind. You get almond paste around here. You know, you got peanut butter. Well, they do an almondy version of it as well, which apparently tastes just as good, but it's better for your carb count, which of course Brian's always got an eye on. Now that he's carved out an on-screen role for himself, he doesn't want to look like a life raft that's just gone off. We will take a break. We need one, and we'll be back with you in a few moments' time. The gap's 3 minutes 46. It's closing. Welcome back. It's a lovely day. Look at the length of the shadows here. We've got low frequency light, but it's kept the temperatures today, the lack of wind, I should say, hovering around about, well, we're just dipping below 30s now. It was nudging up to 32 at the hottest point. But yes, very, very light breeze, but nothing too much. Paluki just loading up on behalf of Bora, and it doesn't feel like it's overly taxing today. It certainly will be by the time we get to the end, and I think the pressure that's going to be put on Bora Hansgrohe may well be significant. They're going to try and shake them out. Trek and indeed the other hopefuls of getting a stage win, and maybe more, try and shake them out on the last peak towards Marmaris. We're just going to welcome back our entire Eurosport family. Destination Marmaris today. We're not that far away from the coast, and every time we take on a hill we cut inland. As you can see, the mountains, they sort of provide a curtain here where the drama may well emerge from behind. We will see. Once we get up there, we've got a very high-speed approach towards Marmaris. To be honest, I was before we actually got to the finish line, I was thinking that this was a sort of a roller coaster approach into town, and I forgot entirely. I've confused Marmaris with
Turgotries.
Turgotries, yeah, and it's not. Thank you. It's not part of this year's race, and that's a real shame because Turgotries, if you know the Grand National roller coaster in Blackpool, it's very much like that. So basically, you come into town, and the biggest straight you have ever seen, and it just, I think they thought about putting some switchbacks in, and then the town council just said, bring people in as quickly as you can, and they just went straight down the mountain. Scary stuff. We've got a quick approach today, but it's actually moderated by some twists and turns once we get into town. These are the Yaziga Islands, as you can see, and there's that's the Donut Lagoon. Well, that's what I'm calling it. Oh no, it's called Bagel Bay. No, it's not. These are the boats that you can charter, and if you're lucky enough, you may well own one. Although owning one is an enormous expense. Mind you, so is chartering one. Brian should know. He's done it all. But yeah, they generally tend to come to these little limpid pools. The water's not that deep, but some good snorkeling around these parts as well. There's a few little wrecks for you to go and play with likewise, but do be careful. Especially because of the enormous electric eels that hang around in this part of the world. And they will give you a nibble, give you a little nip. The sort of fish equivalent of a greyhound, and you will be the hare, believe me. Getting out of there quick. Come across a few of those myself, and they're a bit scary. Lovely part of the world, though, Brian.
It is. You know, a lot of the locals actually come down to the coast in the middle of summer and actually spend a lot of time on the water. In fact, they holiday on the water. They take out. We talked about it the other day. A wooden boat, and you know, they take the cook, the butler, and things like that, and look after their family because it's a lot cooler.
Just a regular family then.
Yes, but
cook and butler.
Exactly, and they get looked after, and they holiday for a couple of weeks on the boat. But
speaking as a clan chief here, Brian,
yeah, Yazika Island, which we've just seen, is also called the Flat Island, and it's uninhabited. But yeah, a lot of people come down to the coast in the heat of the summer and spend a lot of time on the water as part of their holiday.
Yeah, and you can understand why. You may not have seen too many great sandy beaches. And the beaches tend to be just a little bit gravelly. There are some spectacular sandy beaches, but they're sort of reasonably rare. But the benefit of all of that is that the water is inordinately clear. And so you can find yourself, I don't know, boats here look like they're hanging in the air sometimes when you're sitting up on a beach. Because the water is of such clarity, it's remarkable. And so, yeah, snorkeling is fabulous in this part of the world. Mind you, so is much else. It's one of our favourite destinations, Brian.
Yeah, for sure. And talking about Marmaris here as we just come to this sprint, we normally bump into Colin and Sharon Bell, but they've been foiled this year because the Tour of Turkey has moved from late April to this time of year.
Yep, they turned up looking for us, and they got the wrong time of year entirely. Here's your Sprint Prem at 3, 2 and 1 seconds available, so there'll be nothing left in terms of bonuses for those behind. And I'm just wondering who it is that's going to fancy this. Well, didn't want to upset anybody there. Our friend from Trek Segafredo. So Gregory Daniel, just letting these boys have their fun, and it's Samley that took it ahead of De Ruyter. 3.5 minutes, 58 kilometres to go. That looks like it's a football pitch. Yeah, and the bicycle display team have put out their 9 vehicles just for you. And there is the ever-present picture of Ataturk, the original, the founding father of modern Turkey, I think it's fair to say. Always looks like he's just checking on an open window. But yeah, he was the man that modernised Turkey, and indeed made it secular and brought it very much towards a European model, a nation that's still not been absorbed, or indeed has not yet joined the European community, much to the questioning of many. But yeah, at the moment it's I think suffering with a little bit of political unrest, but then again just about all of the world is these days. And likewise, security-wise, the rest of the world is also has its problems, as I'm sure you know. So it's hard to find peace anywhere, it seems, on planet Earth at the moment. So let's just get on with the sport, shall we, and enjoy it. And that's precisely what we're doing. And it's a gift to the Presidential Tour of Turkey to have a proper stage race right at the end of the year, Brian, and always enjoyable it is.
Yeah, very much so. And obviously this is a new, not a new race, but a new time of year for this race. And already, the weather has been kind to the riders, as it always is, pretty much at this time of year. And we've had a couple of good sprint stages yesterday. Maybe wasn't the fastest of stages, but in the end, the last 10 kilometres and the sprints have been kind of really interesting. Today, when we turn left, just under 30 kilometres to go, we will have a beauty sprint. It kind of rises up a little bit and is kind of rolls all the way to about just inside 7 kilometres to go, and then you go shooting down this main road into Marmaris, and it's quite quick round Marmaris. In the past, the stages that have finished here in 2016, Modulo won it, 2015 Graipo, Cav won here in 14, Graipo won again in 13, Renshaw won here, and it was actually at Anzac Day. He narrowly beat Matt Goss in 2012. Belletti, who is in this race today, won in 2011, 2010 was Visconti. So we've had some really good winners in the past. This stage is kind of snaked round town and a longer approach to the finish, but today they've taken it back to the finish of 2012 when it comes down the hill, and from pretty much the bottom of the hill it's just about 2 kilometres when it hit the flat, and along the marina and finish quite quickly. There's a couple of left-hand corners inside the last kilometre, and I think there's less time now. If you get dropped on the climb, there's less time to come back. and I think that it could be a group of maybe 25, maybe 30 riders that battle it out. Whether Sam Bennett can stay with them, that's what we're going to have to wait and see.
Yeah, they've gone for an arch shot. I did worry there. It looks like it's a cooling fountain. Should you have required it? And the riders saying no, thank you very much, not this time. But yeah, great idea, to be honest. They use that in triathlons occasionally. Some of the Ironman's events, which are often in very, very hot conditions. And I've seen it actually used as well in Beijing during the road race there. It was an alternative, optional I should say, tunnels for you to go in with little mists of water so that you could go and cool off if you wanted. That wasn't exactly a mist, was it? That was going to be a dousing. It looks like you'd have to stop to get any benefit. But nonetheless, for some of the hotter events, and I guess you can call this one of them, with some very, very late and welcome warmth, around about 32 Celsius, just fading a little bit down to the 28s and 27s now, but we're getting to late afternoon locally. What are we, 3:30 in the afternoon, so just coming up to 25 to 4. So yeah, it still feels warm, but not that warm that it tempted anyone this time by to go for the shower. What about those shower units, those mist tunnels, Brian? Do you think they've got a place in some of the hotter events? They came to prominence in our minds in the World Championships in Qatar. Not this year, of course, that was in Bergen in Norway, but last year, and they looked useful.
They can be dangerous because it's like anything. Some people go for it, some people don't, and it causes crashes sometimes, so it could be a danger.
Oh, you misery. Welcome back. Well, we are waiting for a solar flare to sort itself out at the moment. We knew it was coming around about this time of day, and apparently it's due to last for another minute or so. So we're just going to be showing you some pictures of the lovely harbour where Brian Smith spends his summer holidays. He probably knows that bar right there. That's where he gets cuttlefish occasionally, but that's for his budgie. What do you eat, Brian, when you get down there?
Not a lot actually. There's a nice wee place here. It's a cabin that sells some nice jacket potatoes.
That's what you like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you like jacket potato?
Yeah, but I never feel I have to dress up to eat potato. We're just going to welcome back our Eurosport family. So yeah, you get the extra bits if you want them or not. A little bit of volcanic beach there. As you can see, they've also put out the old shark nets. That's quite nice. No, don't worry, it's not for sharks. It's for jet skiers who sometimes make a nuisance of themselves. We're just doing some fly past by some of the lovely marinas, and what is lovely about this part of the world as well, like Dalian, is that they've kept it low level. The altitude of the buildings, I should say, which looks far prettier. We've been suffering from solar flares. They blow up occasionally, and we've been warned.
They're back in style, I've heard.
Yeah. Brian is platforms. He'll speak from one whenever he can. Albanese just getting back in here. Yes, the solar. We've got solar flare problems about the same time each day. Which is, we've factored in a commercial break, but they last for about 5 minutes. So we'll give you some lovely marina shots. And Brian can tell you about his latest flavour of Turkish Delight, of which he has plenty. Personally speaking, of Turkish Delight in the hotels, Rose has been my favourite. And you?
Yeah, I tend to agree with you.
Yeah, we go for Rose. Yeah, you can get Violet occasionally, but only after a few drinks. And there's mint as well as the plain Turkish Delight as well. We just thought we'd run through that for you. Brian still hasn't brought back the almonds, for those of you who are asking. Stuart May 8 has said, I assume you've already been asked, but has it moved in the calendar? Well, it has moved in the calendar. It's supposed to be April-May time, but yes, they were given dispensation to move it to the end of the year due to some political unrest, and we found it now in October, and it very much feels like a welcome home for the race. It's a busy old calendar to try and squeeze in a stage race, especially as it was 8 stages as used to be. It's down to 6 now. But I rather like it in this part of the year. If it's going to stay in the World Tour, this may well gain some appeal, I think.
It was a popular race, still is, and apologise for that. It was a popular race. A lot of the sprinters tended to come here thinking of the next part of their diary, and you know, it was obviously attracted a lot of the sprinters because you had the Tour of Romandie. The Tour of Romandie, very hilly race in Switzerland, and maybe not the same options for some of the sprints that the Tour of Turkey was throwing up. I know that over the past years, Andy Greipel loved coming here. He's had many stage successes, including twice a winner here in Marmaris.
He was almost ambassador to the race, really, wasn't he? Right.
Yeah, he used to come here. You win a stage, you win all these Turkish points, Turkish airline points, and you know, you can come here whenever you want, sort of thing. But and many have taken it up. But yeah, it's now moved until this time of the year from late April, and I think it will stay there. There is talk about it staying probably this length and of 6 days and staying in this part of the year, because you got to remember that at the end of April you've got the Tour of Yorkshire, which is now 4 days, or Tour de Yorkshire, and you've also got Croatia, which is gaining in popularity. You've got Romandie as well, so it's a busy time of year to have an 8-stage event, and it was perfect. It was, you know, perfect for, I would say, 5 or 6 years, but because of the kind of unrest in this area and security, many teams didn't want to come. We've got 4 World Tour teams here now, and I think it will remain in this part of the year, which is quite unfortunate because a lot of the airlines don't have direct flights to Dalaman at this time of year now. So maybe if this it becomes a bit more popular to come at this time of year, then maybe they'll put some flights on in the near future, thinking of possibly this race. But yeah, it's a good race, and it will stay in the calendar as a World Tour event. But where it's going to be placed is still undecided. But I think it will remain, from what I'm hearing, at this time of year.
I remember going in 2012, and Abdul Rahman, who was in charge of the race at the time, was asking us how we thought, what we thought about the possibility of it achieving World Tour status. I remember at the time, Brian, we were saying that it's a question of appealing to the World Tour teams. The UCI actually gave everyone the option of coming or not, which was something of a rarity, because it is compulsory at all World Tour races for all of the World Tour teams to be present. Well, they've decided that this would be optional. We've got 4 World Tour teams that have made the trip: Astana, Bora Hansgrohe, Trek Segafredo and UAE Team Emirates. But it's a shame, really, that as soon as it achieves World Tour status, through no fault of its own, it's sort of moved within the calendar as a sporting event. And so it's had a little bit of a knockback just when it finally achieved its goal of becoming World Tour. This race and its organisers historically deserve a lot of credit, Brian. It's extraordinarily well organised. It's been better organised when it was a lesser event than the World Tour, than many World Tour events were, and we always used to say it. The teams agreed, they all came. And I just hope, and I'm sure you feel the same, that this is going to be a success, and maybe even if it has to be at this part of the season. I don't think that's any bad thing.
Well, the Tour of Turkey has been around for a long time, and over the last kind of decade they've started to obviously develop it into the race it is now, right up to World Tour level. World Tour status means that you know, obviously it's limited in the amount of teams that come here, and obviously as a World Tour race, what they wanted to do is attract all the World Tour teams, but obviously the UCI have looked at this, and you know, they won't force anybody to come to all the World Tour events now. In the past, if it was a World Tour event, you had to come. So I think it's going to reform itself at this part of the year. You've got to remember there's another World Tour event coming up in China. I'm not the best at pronouncing Chinese, but the Tour de Guangxi?
Guangzhou.
Guangzhou. There, thank you, Carlton. So the tour of Guangzhou.
Bless you.
Is coming up at from the 19th to the 24th.
I realise I could have said anything there, but it is correct, and you'd have gone with it. So
here's me trusting you.
yeah, it was nice to see. It's a rarity. Gregory Daniel is keeping the pace up within this trio up front. You saw that Sam Lee, from the Turkish national team, went back to the car and said, "Can I just pack it in now? I've just about had enough." The young 23-year-old. And they said, no, you're going to stay up here and keep the Turkish flag flying. But Gregory Daniel is keeping the pace up, and in fact he's forcing the fight. And that's exactly what they've got to do. Trek Segafredo sent this man in the breakaway. He managed to get in there at the top of the day, and he's forcing other teams to chase on. Luckily for Bora Hansgrohe, they're not having to do all the work, and the reason is that Vilja Triestina, who you're looking at right now, in the blood, gold and coal, as we call it, Manuel Belletti believes in today because he's not a bad climber. He's also very good at positioning himself, and with 3 very focused turns in the last 1500 metres, he could be their man. They know that, so they're putting the hammer down to chase down this break that, because of the efforts of Greg Daniel, are staying out at a margin of 2 minutes and 40 at the moment. UAE have also joined the effort, as you can see, with their red helmets and the black and white, and they're working for Simone Consoni or potentially Marco Kumpf, who went bump on stage 1. Well, the bump for Kumpf, I don't know whether he's actually recovered sufficiently from it yet, but I think Consoni could be the man. He could be the dish that they go for today, backed up by Freddie Zerlo. So they've got options too, and in fact, before we get to the high ground tomorrow, this race traditionally has brought sprinters to us. There's probably about 15 sprinters here who think they've got a chance today, certainly of podiuming, and it's their last chance before we head to Selçuk and the climb tomorrow, Brian. So it's a gift for Bora that so many have decided to get involved, even the efforts of Palucki here embedded within the nose. I think Bora Hansgrohe are being done a favour by the other teams who are running out of options.
Oh, they definitely are. They played the waiting game right at the start, and fortunately 2 teams came to the front, UAE in the red helmets and the fluorescent yellow of Vilja Triestina.
Welcome back. Well, we've taken flight at the moment, and there's a few little gaps starting to open up. They're being closed down again and again, but it shows the pace that we've got, and in fact our breakaway are doing a fantastic job. We told you that there was a couple of good time trialists in there. Samly from the Turkish national team, and indeed Thomas de Ruyter from Veron Classics. Greg Daniel, though, is the man who's holding them at bay at the moment. And we're expecting this to be quite a well fought out affair. Trying to catch them may well be more of a task than perhaps we thought. Just going to welcome back our entire Eurosport family, while these guys, as you can see, those on the front are having to work really hard, those protected from the wind. Cruising a bit at the moment. So we're just going to say hello to everybody and then we'll move on. Just under 45 kilometres of the day remaining, and 2.5 minutes is the gap. And as you can see, Bora have started to worry. They've decided that they're going to invest a little bit here. Matteo Palucki has been called to the front. I think it's because they've clearly been leaning a little bit too much on Vilja Triestina, and indeed the United Arab Emirates team. Vilja did much of the work. UAE did some, but I think they were also called by Vilja, who basically said, come on, get on with it. They added a bit of impetus. It started to fracture a little bit. Nothing too serious. Everyone managed to patch up the holes in the peloton. 13 teams here this year, by the way, just in case you're wondering why it looks like a modest number on the road. Slightly more modest than some other races, but nonetheless. It's been about the sprinters, and this is the last day for them, really, but they've got some lumps to get over, so you better be decent at climbing, have a good team to protect you, and then do your thing at the very end. You can just see Sam Bennett, who's won 2 stages and wears the leader's jersey. He's in about 20th place at the moment, so Case is just catching sight of him. He's being well protected by Bora Hansgrohe, and they've been allowed off duty really as far as the chase is concerned because of that representative of Trek Segafredo who's up in the break. And there he is on the right hand side of your screen, and I think Greg Daniel has done an absolutely stellar job. First getting into the break, but then keeping the impetus going. Whenever they've started flagging, Brian, he's been the man that's pushed on and encouraged them to stay with it.
Yeah, they want to keep the pressure on. The longer Daniel stays out here, the fact that his team of Trek Segafredo can sit back, save their energy for what I think is going to be a very interesting final few kilometres, because by the way things are going at the moment, in the first couple of hours they averaged 38 kilometres an hour, so it isn't rapid. And obviously to try and shake out Sam Bennett in his final kind of couple of climbs, and I think that with putting Palucci on the front with Forbora, it means that they're pretty much confident that Sam Bennett can get over these last couple of climbs and possibly make it 3. Tomorrow's, as you say, Carlton, is going to be a GC day up Selkirk, but there's another opportunity here for a sprint finish. Whether it'll be the whole peloton, I very much doubt it, and we're going to see some hard racing over these final kilometres.
A big wide dried up riverbed here. That's to accommodate flash floods. Now we've seen them here before, Brian, on this very stage to Marmaris. Wasn't it this one that Andre Greipel decided to go for a ride in a taxi?
Yes, we come off the descent of the second category climb, and there's a few riders, because it wasn't a lot of rain, but a bit of rain came down on the roads.
Well, that's a Scotsman talking, but
yeah.
Believe me, in these parts it did start to gully, and a lot of the riders were losing their contact with the road. We had a lot going down.
Yeah, they were crashing
all over the place.
And the race was neutralised, and at one point there was a talk about the cancelling the stage, but I think a few phone calls down the roads, and it was only localised to one area, but the roads were really treacherous, and Greipel thought, like many others, that the stage was going to be cancelled. So a couple of them got in the car, most just kind of rode on, and they found that about 10 kilometres down the road it was dry again.
Yeah,
so
completely dry.
They all got out of the car, they all continued racing, and that was it.
That was it. Some stayed on their bikes, and there were grumbles at the dinner tables as to who'd had a ride and who hadn't, in a car, I should say. But yes, Mark Cavendish, I remember him screaming his head off at the organisers, who basically pulled up and stopped on a very, very treacherous descent, which was absolutely awash with riders all over the place. They couldn't use their brakes, it was so wet. And Mark Cavendish was screaming at them just to get out of there. Did Mark actually crash into the back of the car?
No, he was.
I think he avoided.
Nobody could have touched their brakes on a descent, and the cars in front, the director and things like that, was just trying to slow things down, and nobody could touch their brakes. So there was a lot of shouting and screaming for the cars to get out of the way. Yeah. But at the end,
colourful language.
At the end, with due respect, Abdurrahman, the race director at that time, did a very good job, and
super job.
I think Greipel, Cavendish, all these sort of stuff complimented on that, the way he handled that situation.
Yep, he was terrific. Really knew the balance and had the riders' best wishes at heart. He was terrific. 40.8 kilometres then from home. And it's 2 minutes and 19. You know, this gap has not come down very much at all. There are a few that are kind of on duty at the moment. Look at that tangerine flotilla there of Sprandi Polkovici. They could be the dark horses today. Watch out for Franciszek Zizzer, or indeed Jonas Koch. It's going to be the pair.
I think
Actually, it's going to be
dark horses in that colour.
No, that's true. Yeah, it really is like a highlight pen incident in a laundry. But yes, no, I think it'll be Koch who goes for it today, the German, as opposed to Zizzer, who was being backed up by Koch over the last couple of days. So, last chance for the sprinters, quite possibly. Certainly before some pretty testy days today and tomorrow. The fast men will have some fun in Istanbul on the final stage 6. You're just catching a sight there of Sam Bennett. He doesn't look overly stressed, does he? He's busy having a little little joke, sort of joshing, exchanging some pleasantries, I'm sure, within the pack here. And Bora Hansgrohe, for the time being, they don't look like they're anywhere near cracking, Brian, with 40 to go. Sam Bennett surely starting to look like favourite again for the day.
Yeah, we'll see. We're turning left off this main road in about 10 kilometres time, and we start heading towards Marmaris. And you know, the road starts to kind of kick up straight away, so it'll be interesting to see the tactics of some of the teams. And I think that UAE putting a rider on the front, and with Vegard Steklengen, the tall figure, they'll be thinking of whittling this peloton down somewhat on the kind of final ascent before we drop down into Marmaris. So I think that there's a few teams up for this. They don't want to allow Sam Bennett an easy ride. He's proven over the last 2 stages he is the fastest. Even if Towns had the perfect lead out, a better lead out yesterday, Sam Bennett nudged Belletti off the wheel, got Towns' wheel, and you know, won easily for the 2nd day in a row. So they don't want that to happen. Bora are fairly confident. They put one rider on the front. As I said, it just gives a little bit of confidence. Sam Bennett and Bora can say, well, we've won 2 stages. If it gets too hard, then I'm going to pull the pin. Tomorrow is a GC day, and I'll save all my energy for the last 2 stages into Izmir and Istanbul. So it'll be an interesting one, but I think that knowing Sam Bennett, he'll want to try and win today, and he'll give it his all. Whether it's he stays there or not, it's really dependent on the other teams, how hard they ride up this final climb.
There's our race director, Berat Alfan. We'll take a break. In fact, we'll stay with it. Beg your pardon. So, there is a long line of talent today. So, who hasn't shone overly brightly just for the time being may well today. Nikolai Trusov, for one, for Gazprom. They looked lively yesterday, but they'll be wrestling. Alexander Porsev, unfortunately, didn't start stage 2. We know that we had some bumps and bruises. We talked about Kump taking a bump on stage 1, but unfortunately the biggest absence from this race is Sergei Chernetsky. I'm hoping that Jesper Hansen sort of jumps into the void, the big Dane, tomorrow. He'll want a good position today, will Jesper Hansen. This is Team Astana, by the way. 10th in Lombardia was Chernetsky, and I think he was the one that was going to take it to Diego Ulizzi for the overall title by the end of this race. Ulizzi for UAE Team Emirates. But Riccardo Minali can go very well. In fact, yesterday he finished 3rd, and I think the Astana man will be quite comfortable with the way that today can pan out. He's slightly unknown as far as climbing is concerned, but from the way we've seen the incline so far today, I don't think he's going to have too much trouble. But nonetheless, 38 kilometres to go. It's about now that fatigue would start to set in as we sort of head towards the 90 k's done marker. In fact, it's around that right now. It's a shorter day, which plays into the hands of the sprinters on a lumpy day, Brian. Only 129 after the sheer madness of 206 yesterday. I've
seen this stage race from the gun. It's on the second category climb. It's split into 2, and you know, obviously it hasn't come back together. This time round, this stage, the peloton never really raced up the climb, and it stayed all together. There's a few riders being dropped. One being Marco Benfato was in trouble earlier on, so I'm not too sure that Benfato will be here sprinting it out on the quayside here in the marina at the end of today's stage, going in what we've seen earlier on today. But we'll have to kind of wait and see if Sam Bennett's going to be here. Minali sprinted well yesterday into 3rd for Astana, but I think the danger team is definitely UAE. If it's hard enough, if they race hard enough on this final climb, it's not categorised. Diego Ulizzi might have a go. He's been sprinting fairly well. And then obviously Wheelia Trestina, I've got you know, their riders, a former winner in this stage into Marmaris, Manuel Belletti, but also you know, there's other opportunities for some other riders. Androni have got Francesco Gavazzi who can get over the climbs. It all really depends. When we turn left, it really depends on how hard they race up this final climb.
It does. Already strung out, as you can see. Virtually no wind at all. Vertical feather day today. It'll drop one, it'll just hit the deck. Yeah, it's quite remarkable. There's just a little bit of billowing from the helicopter here. That's from the downdraft. But virtually nothing to speak of. We saw our race director, Bert Alpan, who was out of the car. And he didn't really have to adjust his spectacles either, because there's not that much breeze apart from that being generated by the forward motion. And so it's an obvious way to protect yourself at the moment when there's no wind. One long line will just about do it. Get yourself wherever you need to. Bit of a comfort break going on for a few at the moment. I think we'll just move a little bit further forward by way of decorum. 1:30 though, they've closed the gap, and it's coming up to that crucial time. Once you make the turn, Brian, head down towards the coast. Things are going to get very busy today.
I think they will, and I don't think the three riders have got any chance of staying away. They'll lose time when they start to turn left. The last rider, Gregory Daniel, might have something to say about that. The best place in the classification is, in fact, Gregory Daniel and Duretti from Veron Classic. Both started today at 33 seconds, but that's not the reason I don't think they're in the breakaway today. They're in the breakaway because there was an opportunity with that climb at the start where Bora Hansgrohe going to try and control things, and they didn't. They allowed the breakaway, but the thing is, it wasn't strong. It's not strong enough. Wasn't big enough. There was a rider from the Brazil team tried to go across to make it 4. He never made it. So for Bora Hansgrohe, they get let off. The fact that only 3 riders went down the road, they tried to keep it together, and they played a waiting game. And now we came over the top of the second category climb, and Wilier Tristrina and UAE, both Italian teams, are starting to ride with Bora Hansgrohe. But the tactical manoeuvre of Trek Segafredo, putting Gregory Daniel in the breakaway, means that Trek can sit back and they can keep the powder dry. They were just having a natural break there, preparing themselves, I think, for a go at this stage today with Edward Toynes.
Yeah, I think so. Last call at the Bidon Bar for a few. It's been a warm day today. I think you can say pleasant. It's come down off 32 and it's now in the mid to late 20s, but very, very nice indeed. It's gorgeous to have the summer extended really for some of these guys. Not grizzly as it is in certain parts of Europe at the moment, and this is Karl Reinen. He of one of the few mullets that's on display in the peloton at the moment. I'm not quite sure what it does for an aero negative, but frankly, he doesn't care. He's going style over substance, I think. But he
stops you getting the white lines at the back of your neck.
Is that what it is? So you could almost plait it. But anyway, there's a couple of mullets here. It's Karl Reinen and the Bullet mullet, which is Shane Archbold, who's been doing an amazing job for Sam Bennett. In fact, just a supreme lead out he has been. Sam Bennett himself had to get a bit shoulder chargy with Manuel Belletti, who harangued him after yesterday's victory. It's feistily fought for this, isn't it? It's a quick man's race, this, and elevated status for those who can go quickly. And this looks like just a quick call for last fill-up. I'll tell you what, our friend here, Zamley, has been back to the car on a number of occasions. Clearly likes keeping himself extraordinarily well hydrated. So there you are, they're just setting off on this little sinuous descent. Now some of the big highways, this is a dip, isn't it, before we actually get to the full-on one. We've got some very, very busy off-camber twists and turns. It's a newish highway that brings us down towards Marmaris. And it gets extremely pacey. We're going to be seeing speeds of around 80 kilometres an hour on the approach, aren't we?
Yeah, on the descent, on the last, when we come off the climb, just under 7 kilometres to go, it's a very fast descent. And I think about just over 2 kilometres around the town, so it kind of flattens off about 2 kilometres ago. But it's definitely fast, but it's going to be interesting to see who takes it up when we start to turn left.
Back in a moment. Welcome back. A bit of chit-chat going on at the moment, and Sol Brazil Pro Cycling have been busy. It looks like they're sort of having a modest sort of argument amongst themselves, quite frankly. Not really sure of the reason why, and in fact beaming back to base at the moment. Are you sure you want me to carry on like this? And the answer clearly is yes. Minute and 1. As soon as we get to close by to Gorkova Beach, we make our turn and then head inexorably down towards the south and Marmaris. So we're just at a little inlet at Gorkova, and then we start climbing. We've got those 2 climbs before that pesky descent into town. We'll be explaining all that again to our friends who are just rejoining us from our wider Eurosport family, so forgive us for that. Well, it's calmed down a little bit because the gap has come down to just 58 seconds, and there's a danger that the breakaway would be caught a little bit too quickly. So they're bouncing a little bit. Are we going up there? Yeah, we're going up there. Really, don't like the look of that. A few smirks going on as well. Are you sure we're going up there? Yeah, we're definitely going up there. I'm reading the thought bubbles at the moment, or speech bubbles. Gorkova Beach is where we're heading, and in fact we'll be there. Well, we're there now, really, to be honest. You don't see too much of the beach because the beach is on their right-hand side. They're going to take a left-hand turn and start heading due south. It's a small sort of bridge, really, over the headland that will take us to Marmaris. Does that make sense? So they're leaving the northern side where there is a beach and some water, and they're heading to the south side where there's a beach and some water. Marmaris Castle, you'll be seeing plenty of that. I see Ro Hofer has decided to come here. Our race director doing a spectacular job. He and Berat Alpam sorting the race out for us here. It looks like he's gone for some very shishi 1960s ski goggles. He's probably still got his wooden skis. Minute and 6 then, it's just eased back to these guys, or the pressure on them has eased, I should say, because the peloton have decided it's too soon to take them back. There was a virtual sit-up by these men. They've been out there doing a good job for much of the day. The maximum gap got up to well over 6 minutes, and right now they hold an advantage of 1:11. It'll be about a minute and a half by the time they make the turn, which is coming up soon, Brian, and so they'll be heading with some sun in their eyes.
Yeah, very much so. We'll be turning left very soon. These 3 riders have been in front pretty much from the start. In fact, the rider second place, Samley, he started the attack from kilometre 0. Gregory Daniel from Trek Segafredo went with him. And the man in the yellow at the back there, Veron Classic rider Giuretti, the Belgian rider went across to them. One other rider from Brazil tried to make it across, but they've now been told to start riding on the front a little bit, and I think there's a few teams thinking about this finish today. It's somewhat harder than the last 2 days, and possibly they could be thinking of Jordi Simon.
That'd be nice. The Spaniard within the group of Brazilians, everyone's speaking Portuguese apart from poor old Jordi. But it is Jordi, and I think it is Jordi as opposed to Jordi or Jordi. They're all correct, by the way. It depends whether you're Catalan, Basque or Spanish. And it sounds like, frankly, none of those places know what they are at the moment. I hope it all settles down. 30.3 kilometres then from home, 57 seconds. Well, we thought it was going to expand a little bit, but anything but. It seems that other teams have decided that they're going to take over from where Team Brazil eased up. And here we are. It's a reassembly of the indifferent, just for the time being. Interesting to see that moving into place, CC Sprangli, Volkovici, they'll have a dig. Who'll go for it, I don't know. Patrick Stoich went back for water a short while ago. That's usually buying a favour, but I think it's going to be Zizzer or Koch today. Let's go with Koch, shall we? The German. Well, when's this turn going to come? It's supposed to be now, Brian. And here we are. High ground approach.
8.7 kilometres to go.
God, this is such a pedant. Yeah. All right then. Absolute accuracy is what Brian's all about, even with his hair.
There it's there. The roundabout.
Thank you very much. That's all I wanted.
Well, I was relying on the helicopter shot.
I'll tell you what, look at the wind that's picked up. Now you get vectoring in this part of the world. So the land heats up. The air around the coast is, of course, cooler over the water. And so when the land heats up, what does hot air do? It rises. And so up it goes, and it draws in a breeze from the cooler air, which rushes into the void from the water. So that's your sea breezes for you. And so you're going to get a little bit of billowing of that, which will, of course, make greater demands on these guys, if only slightly. It's not exactly a hurricane, but quite frankly, they may well feel it. After the hours of yesterday, I think, today 129 kilometres, of which they've done 100. Tomorrow to Selçuk we've got 204. That seems a bit mean, especially as it's the big climbing day. And then we go to Izmir and indeed Istanbul on our final day. It's nice varied terrain. It's been for the quick men only so far, Brian, but that will change tomorrow.
Very much so. Very difficult stage, very difficult finish tomorrow, and you know, hard climb at the start of the stage as well. So tomorrow for the GC days, this is an opportunity for some of the sprinters. Very different stage, different finish to the last couple of days. So Sam Bennett has got an opportunity. It depends how he's feeling, if he manages to stay with the front group. But with the fact that 4 teams now are up towards the front, thinking about this finish now, it's going to make it an interesting finish for us and for everybody watching, because I don't think it will be the same bunch finishes we've seen over the first couple of days.
No, and here we are, last men standing. I think the man who wants it more than anyone to be last man out there is, of course, Samli of the Turkish national team. He's wearing number 6 of that duo in red. As wrestling back in goes Thomas De Ruyter. I'm hearing it's pronounced as opposed to De Ruyter. Anyway, I'll do my best. 28.4 kilometres, and it's 35 seconds only. I wonder what it says on the squeegee board. 45. See, that's how quickly it's closing. As soon as they've drawn on the whiteboard, another 10 seconds had gone. Well, they're not standing still. And just looking at all vehicles just being called away at the moment. Come on then, if you want to do some work, if you want to join the fun, then join in. You can't just sit on my back wheel, Mr. Samli, says Greg Daniel. And through comes Julie to do some work. I don't know how much effort he's going to offer up, but they're just slightly at an angle here because of the difference in the wind. But 36 seconds they're holding. Doing a decent job, and it's the Beauties Sprint Prime, and that's punishment. That is punishment. That's, you want to ride on my back wheel and then mug me at the end? Well, have a look at this. And Greg Daniel basically takes it to Samli and says, no, you're not having it because you haven't done enough work.
Yeah, he just pipped him in the end. I don't think they were too worried about it, but Samli was thinking of trying to get to maximum points there. He does have a teammate in that jersey, but Gregory Daniel has another thought in mind. He wants to try and keep the pressure on the front of the peloton, make this last kind of 30 kilometres as difficult as possible.
Yep, good boy, and he's getting tetchy, probably due to the pain. So when Samli, who was doing his own thing, every right to do so, lent on him a bit, Greg Daniel has punished him. 43 seconds out to Mr. Daniel out there, and 45 seconds with 27 to go. So what's remaindered today? 2 nasty climbs. One goes straight into the next, so it looks like a sort of a lazy M. Makes sense? So yeah, they'll go over the first hillock, and then they will descend to around about 15 k's to go, and then they'll pick up and go for it. Let's have a look at this again, Ryan.
Well, Samli's leading out, and I think at this stage he's thinking, they're going to allow me to take the maximum points. So he looks around and goes, what are you doing? And Daniel just gets out the saddle, throws his bike, and takes the maximum points there away from the Turkish rider on the inside. Yeah,
I think that's because Samli had been deemed not to be doing enough work. You saw them arguing. It was almost like Daniel thought, well, if you're not going to work for it and help out in this breakaway, then have some of this. There we are. Well, from that angle, in the shadow, you couldn't see terribly much, but believe me, the American took that. And he's pushed on. He's the lone rider with 50 seconds. He's using his anger well, Brian.
He's a good rider, and he's still a young lad at 22 years old. Last year he was the American champion, so got an opportunity to ride for a World Tour team. We're just going to drag up here, goes round, and then it starts to head up to the right hand side now, and up a bit of a climb, and so I think we could see the riders having a first kind of dig on this next couple of kilometres.
The Gaspers, Gazprom, have come to the fore. They're dead centre in the blue. I said to watch out for them because Nikolai Trusov is more than interested. There's our leader out towards the barriers there, wearing the turquoise jersey. Looks like sky blue, really, more than that. This is Tlubayev, just getting a back wheel change. He'll be part of the push for Riccardo Minali. Minali went very well yesterday, just beaten by Toons and, of course, Bennett.
He went exceptionally well yesterday, and but I think he might struggle a bit today. We started this little bit of a drag up as we start to pan out here. We go over the first part of it, and then we start heading straight, and then we go up towards the right. And the road does kick up. It's hard enough, and the attacks will come. We go over the top of that, and it kind of rolls for some kilometres until it starts to drag up harder and harder until about the 7 kilometres to go, and then swoop down into town, and it'll be a fast finish.
Gregory Daniel doing his thing and doing it well at the moment. It's the gap between he and the peloton that's 59 seconds. This is going to be over reasonably quickly. I know we've got this next hillock to deal with. Once we're over it, there's a real pace about the day, and indeed he's just coming down a little sub-descent before we get to it, so he's been up a very, very modest incline. Right now he's got the ability to put a little bit of power back in the legs, and then suddenly it just starts to suggest altitude to him as we go through Gucci, and there he goes. And here are CCC Sprandi. They've been lively on a couple of occasions, the men in Tangerine, Brian, but they've not quite got there. Today could be it for them, but maybe they'll have to go long. Koch it was that was 8th on day 1. Zizzer it was yesterday. Zizzer and Koch sounds like some sort of really weird brand of, I don't know, hooch from somewhere. But I think it's going to be Koch today.
We'll have to wait and see, because a lot of teams are coming up towards the front. They're thinking about it. There will be attacks, and over the last few years we've been here, there's a lot of World Tour teams with a bit of firepower, been able to control things a little bit. Today, I think it's each to their own, and I think we'll see plenty of attacks, and the strongest riders will come to the front, and it's going to be a really interesting one. I can't see it being a sprint from everybody. It could be a small group, it could be a group of about 30. That's what makes it interesting. It really depends. From now, we hit the climb with a shake of the hands from Sam Lee and De Ruit from Vernon Classic. Good day out for them. Gregory Daniel still in front, but as we hit this climb, it's hard enough for the attacks start to come.
Interesting, isn't it? Look, there is Sam Bennett bouncing. You can see him in a sort of modest sort of aero position at the moment, on the drops, and just getting back in with his team. There's a lot of options though, and today could well prove to be quite explosive. By that I mean there's a lot of teams with a lot of options, and I'm rather looking forward to this. Tlubayev's just getting back in. It was a difficult time for him. His team car just waiting up for him, and indeed slotting in, looks like out of order. I don't mean that in a bad way, I mean just out of sequence, into the line to help him out, but he didn't need them. In fact, I think he may well have been called away. But here is Dan Gregory. Sorry, Gregory Daniel. Do you know, it had to happen once. Because he's written down on the start list here as Daniel Gregory. We know it's Greg Daniel. But
is
yeah, I knew it. Yes, I knew that I had to. It was going to get me once, and it just has done. Sorry about that. So 23.3 to go, and it's that nasty kicker. This is not nice. because there's a lot of teams doing more than just thinking about it at the moment. There's a lot taking the wind, Brian.
Yeah, Gregory Daniels in front by just over a minute. As we expected, the attacks are going to come on the first part of this climb. When we go over the top of this, it rolls away, and then it goes up quite a harder climb, a longer, harder climb. And the thing about this stage today, anything could happen, and it's so hard to predict whether it's going to be a sprint from a small group, whether it's going to be some of these attacks are going to stick. So that's what gives plenty of these teams the opportunities now.
It had to happen, and we're starting to see it right now. Bardiani, Androni also very much involved, and the longest tell from the poker game that was played by Sol Brazil has now come to reality. They've played their hand. A trio have gone off and up the road just as Samley and Droit were brought back. Daniel stays up the road, and he may well have some company. But look at the gap, minute and 26. They've got work to do. I reckon they've probably got, what, 10, 12 seconds only on the pack. Daniel's done a great job. Off he's gone. Now, I'm just wondering if we might get something of a spectacular individual effort today. I think we most certainly will. When he will get caught on the incline. If he gets over the top, you never know. He might bring it in. That would be something. 22.8 to go. Here's your chase, and it's a sort of mishmash of just about everybody. Interesting that the Austrian Gregor Mühlberger, who, if they were going to send somebody up the road, it would be the Austrian. He's also quick, and that would, again, ease the pressure, I think, on the likes of Sam Bennett, but we will see. It'd be a good foil to have up there. He's been called on to do the work at the moment. Sam Bennett doesn't look overly flustered just for the time being, every time we've seen him. And in fact, it's Bora now that are re-engaging with the chase. They don't like the look of this trio that are up the road. I guess all of the teams that were at the front, including South Brazil, now have an excuse not to work. And so that's one plan for they. You can see Jordi Simon in the yellow. He's just, in fact, he's just next door to Sam Bennett himself, wearing the leader's jersey, close in on the barriers. Minute and 8 out to Daniel up the road. This is getting busy, and so is he. Out of the saddle, he's doing a great job of sustaining this.
He's doing a very good job for his team. He got in the breakaway from the start. He stayed with his breakaway companions until the bottom of this drag, and he's given it 100% now. That's what he has to do. His teammates can just follow, and hopefully they might be able to do a better job with Toynes in the finish today. So it's going to be a really interesting one. But what is interesting at the moment in front of the peloton is UAE and the red helmets is controlling things, and Ulisses sitting in the third wheel, and he's a danger. He's already tried and for some bonus seconds. He might not wait for tomorrow. He might have a go today, and I think that's what UAE are trying to plan now.
Well, if you can go on a spectacular attack up the last incline, you'll have potentially some options. He's the sort of rider who can go long when he needs to. Tacek from the Polish team, Sprandi, is in a good position right now as well. And we're seeing some sufferance, aren't we? A few moments ago we saw Lincoln Silva, and it looks like Nachiko is also going there. Well, determined not to be reabsorbed, indeed just to hang on. They're working extraordinarily busily, and Androni, well, I think this is Vedrama, and he is not a bad he's not a bad sprinter. So they're going to get over this next peak. Then we go on a descent to take on our final test. It looks like much has been neutralised except for that the threat posed, modest as it may well be at the moment, by Daniel the American up the road. Here we are. This is a suggestion of one of the descents that we're going to have, Brian, but it's nothing like the last one.
No, this is a small descent, and then it starts to kind of roll away. It's not steep at all. It's on this main road, and we start to kind of drag up a little bit as well. But Daniel's holding on to an advantage of around 50 seconds still at the moment, doing a very good job. But if this pace maintains, then it's going to shake out a lot of riders. You can just see Sam Bennett, the race leader, up towards the front, where he has to be. They have to keep him up towards the front, but it's UAE still driving things at the front, and they want to control this race and you know, try and bring back Daniel. You've got to remember, he has to be brought back first before there's any type of sprint, but I'm sure that there's other attacks going to come.
Yeah, in certain lights, Daniel's jersey is not overly dissimilar from the Astana team, especially when the picture bleaches out just a little bit from the helicopter. You can see the green trees here are not overly verdant either. But meanwhile, out front is your man who's keeping aero and keeping going. Can nothing stop Daniel?
Well, he's doing a very good job, and he's a he's a solid rider. It's going to be very difficult for him to stay away. It's 41 seconds. This obviously a stage went up for grabs, and that's why we've seen so many teams up towards the front thinking about that attack. Very shortly we're going to start rising up ever so slightly to the top of this next long drag, and it's UAE up here with numbers, and for sure they're going to try something. We've already seen the riders in red try to do something as well. Then in the left hand side we're seeing Trek coming up. They don't want to push on. With the situation they've got now, what did they do? Did they sit back and allow Gregory Daniel to try and solo to victory, or did they come up to the front in this last drag and really take the race on and try and shake out Sam Bennett?
In the green jersey there, you see with it's actually got the trade name Trek written on it, so don't start thinking he's part of Bardiani. Wearing the green jersey on behalf of Sam Bennett, who leads the Sprinters Points jersey competition as well, is of course Edward Tones. Now Tones is believed, or well certainly he believes, and his team quietly sort of acknowledging the fact that they believe he's a better climber than Sam Bennett. Sam doesn't look overly flustered at the moment. You can see he's on one side of the road and able to eyeball, if you like, the green jersey on the other. Bora are on the blower at the moment, thinking about pace and indeed how to react, and it's
we did say the peloton was split.
3 prongs indeed to the pitchfork at the moment, and it's one side of the road or the other, it seems. A lot of options and space to be absorbed when required. Taking a big view down the centre is CCC's Brandy Polkovici at the moment, and while they all look at each other, Brian, this man still continues to ply his trade and battle into this, what is about to be the next incline.
Yeah, just a question over his style at the moment. It's probably better to stretch out his legs more than sit in the top tube here, but he obviously knows better. But 39 seconds with 18 kilometres to go, I don't think it's going to be enough. But definitely Trek sitting on the right hand side thinking about this UAE in the left hand side, and this rolls along for a few kilometres and then it starts to kind of kick up, and then we're going to see some of the teams thinking about the attack towards the finish and shaking out a lot of riders from the peloton.
Well, one of the liveliest has been Androni. They're on the right side of your picture, so left of the road, as they're coming towards you. Look at Trek. They're offering up some protection at the moment for Bardiani, who've got Enrico Barbin and Paolo Simeon as well as options today, if it gets difficult. Gosh, this is fantastic. There are so many teams who still very much believe in the day. They've got this huge lump ahead of them still, and in fact I can't see this all staying together. The attacks are going to rein in, but the pace that's being maintained at the moment by Trek Segafredo is designed to put the hurt on Bora Hansgrohe and indeed our leader Sam Bennett. It does not look like it's had too much of a negative effect for the time being. They're going to have to put the hammer down on this climb, Brian, I think.
It very much looks like that Trek Segafredo moved up to the left-hand side of the roads, and they just wanted to keep the whole team safe. And then when it starts to rise up, I'm pretty sure they want to put the pressure on.
Here it comes. We're about to start climbing for the last time today. Big climbing day tomorrow, so last day for the sprinters. Well, maybe. You've got to be not only fast, but also you have to be able to climb. Wrestle this next climb. It's not categorized, but it's reasonably steep, and you better be a good descender, because we're going to be on an express train when we come over the peak, all the way back down, almost to the finish. In fact, the road barely flattens out fully until we actually get to the line, Harbourside. It's like this. It's a very well-made road. Good surface as well. It's quite smooth, which is why we had some problems with the rains that came down a couple of years ago. But yeah, smoothish surface, not quite as gnarly as we've had. And you can see that reflected in the riders' hands and arms here. They're not being jiggled about. So it's a good surface for pace, but we've got this incline to deal with. Once we get over the top, then you have this highway swooping down into town. It really does drop off the peaks that surround Marmaris as we zoom into town. And when we get there, boy oh boy, in 10 kilometres time, the road starts to wiggle about all over the place. Big turns at 4.5, at 4, at 3, at 2.8, at 2, at 1.5, at 1.2, and then with 800 and 500 to go, a couple of right-handers, sorry, a couple of 90-degree left-handers, I beg your pardon, which will take us on to what is effectively a mini Corniche that takes us around in a curve, gentle albeit, bending gently to the right, Harbourside and Marmaris. You've got to be a master of so many things to win today.
Yeah, the thing about this finish is the descent. This climb is coming up very shortly. It's a long drag more than anything. It's a power drag, but it's the quick descent afterwards. If gaps open, they're very difficult to shut. And in the past, they've taken a longer approach to the finishing line. Today, it's pretty much straight in towards the finishing line, and it comes on when we come on to the harbour side. We come on to the again the Turkish paving stones, and they're uneven, and the line you can't really see the line because it goes round a kind of right-hand turn, and you know, it's a quick finish, but yeah, it's going to be a really interesting one. We were saying we're going to see a split in the peloton, obviously Trek in the right hand side and UAE in the left hand side, but Trek have to think about this one. They've got Gregory Daniel in front. They're not setting the pace, although they're at the front, they're not pushing the pace because they do have Gregory Daniel in front, but I think he will start to tire in this final drag. He's given 100%. I don't think it's going to be enough to stay away, but when this starts to rear up a bit, Trek have to think about it, because Edward Towns has been beat convincingly in the last two sprints, the first two stages, and if he wants to try and win today, he has to take it, and his team have to take it to Bora Hansgrohe.
At the moment, they've got a clear view. They're on the right-hand side of the road, as you can see. UAE and CCC Sprandi, who I suspected would try an early one, I think they and Androni will be the ones that maybe set the pace here. UAE determined to keep in touch as well. With but Consoni, I think, is probably their best choice. We'll see. Zerlo is a great lead-out man for them. And the UAE team, with their red helmets here, just intermingled with the bright orange of Sprandi Polkovici, mean business. Hiding just for the time being are Bora. Astana filling the void. And on the other side of the road, you can see Trek. Bardiani are wise to the fact that Trek are going to put the hammer down. They've got no choice. Evert Towns has apologised to his own team after a perfect delivery on two occasions. Third on stage one, second on stage two. Can he win today? If he's going to, they have to work everyone really hard today, and no one's worked harder than this man.
Yeah, he was just saving it in the three-man breakaway that he was in, using up his two companions to try this. It was always on the cards for Trek Segafredo to make it as difficult as possible. Put a rider in the breakaway today, don't have to ride on the front, but now their plan is to try and make it a little bit more difficult on this final drag up to the top of the climb. Now it is a drag, it's not a major climb, but it is a drag, it's a power climb, and we'll have to wait and see who really wants to take this on, because I think there's a lot of teams going to attack these final kilometres.
Yes, indeed. Denise Hardacre, the much lamented, and we're inordinately fond of Ken. He used to come along to Turkey with Denise, and it was always a delight to see them. Denise very much still with us and saying she's loving the coverage. Nice to hear from you. Half a minute, just over, and into the sunshine, round the headland, and is it going to spark a response? Keeping a clear view, centre of the road, the leader's turquoise jersey actually on the line, as you can see, dead centre, with Bora Hansgrohe with the aquamarine helmets. Almost seems appropriate, considering that they lead this race. And here we are, we're starting to increase the pace despite the incline, so this is designed to hurt some of the faster men, but for the time being Sam Bennett is doing Just fine and dandy, thank you very much. 29 seconds, he's still got just about half a minute. What a great day by Daniel the American. 12.4 kilometres until he reaches the peak, and then he's got that he's got 2.5 before he gets to the peak, and then he's got that fast run into town. Is he going to have a party? It would be great for him if he does. He's been busy and feisty. He's shown his anger and displeasure with those around him. And in the end, if you're going to do something well, do it for yourself. And that's what he's doing. Great effort.
He's doing a very good job. Obviously, his job first and foremost was to get in the original breakaway. There was only 2 other riders went with him. And now Trek Segafredo on the right-hand side, setting up their plan. UE are in the middle. On their left-hand side, you can see the orange jerseys of CCC Sprandi, and just with them in the red is Androni. So there's big opportunities here. This is a very difficult finish, albeit with a very steep descent into Marmaris, but it's going to be a really interesting one. As soon as it starts to drag up ever so slightly in the start, and it gets steeper and steeper and steeper towards the top, and Sam Bennett has been brought towards the front of this race, because even if he gets distanced a little bit, they want to try and give him some space to slide a little bit if he starts to get in a bit of trouble.
21 seconds is his advantage. Clearly the pace behind him has changed. I don't think they regard him as a threat, and indeed there they are. He's going to be reabsorbed, and indeed race direction just calling through the photographers, and indeed the VIP bikes. Go on, off you pop. And indeed they do. They were saying, but there's another bike there. Yeah, that's the camera bike. That's bringing the race to the rest of the world. Don't argue, just move. Here, showing what they've got, and it's a lot of power. It's like you think you can grind us into the dirt at the side of the road, then think again. This is great display of fortitude by Bora Hansgrohe, centre of the road, knowing that everyone knows they're there and they're coping with this. 11 kilometres from home, we're nearly at the peak, and it has not diminished them, Brian.
Yeah, we're just on this kind of false flat bit before we haven't even started climbing yet. So we're on this kind of false flat bit. It does start to kind of drag up. You've got to remember there's about just under 4 kilometres now of this road before we hit the descent. And so we're just getting the teams kind of lining up. Bora Hansgrohe just reminding everybody that they've got Sam Bennett, the race leader, and they're going to try and protect him. Good job being done by Michael Schwarzman at the front. And just behind him, you've got Sarah Mountains, and they're protecting the race leader, Sam.
All done for Gregory Daniel, the American. It's been a great effort by him. And look at Androni. They're chatting to each other at the moment, not on the radio, you understand, but just verbalising their plans. Not too many Italians here, although Bardiani and Androni. So I don't think they're worried about Bardiani. They can speak freely, you might think. Well, let's see. Just about to take on the stinging part of the day. Good effort by Greg Daniel. We appreciate his move. 6 seconds then. Race radio about to declare all together with just over 10 kilometres to go. And Trek still want to launch. You can see the turquoise jersey at the back of that little line of black Bora Hansgrohe riders. Trio of teammates in front, and indeed the textile outlet, just Brian will be in there later. Here we are, 10k's to go then, just a little pickup of pace and almost a rueful shake of the head there, like not sure this is going to work, but we'll see. Everyone's getting cagey all over again. Astana just drifting up. Beziktov it is that's leading in Andrei Zeitz, as you can see in the blue of Astana. Interesting to see Riccardo Manari was there as well. He's their chosen son for the sprint, and it's Bardiani that decide that they are going to roll the dice. Man up the road, 9.7 to go. It can favour the brave a moment such as this, and everyone realises it. UAE also decide that they're going to invest. If you can get over the top, it's the descent where you might find a gap and be able to hold it, because it doesn't end until we get to the line.
Now it started to get a little bit more difficult now. A few riders now starting to disappear, and as it starts to kick up, I think this is Zardini for Bardiani, and just a UAE with Atapuma there just behind, and Androni in the red. So starting to get a little bit more difficult, and some riders are being shed out the rear of the peloton as the road starts to kick up now.
Wow, Enrico Barbin and Paolo Simeon are going to be the fast guys for Bardiani. And this is a big dig, and this is a proper threat that's going off right now. This is David Arroyo, beg your pardon, it's Danilo Colano, his teammate, but being charged down almost immediately by Darwin Atapuma, who we know all about. He's got some great legs. In fact, Atapuma's been quite busy as far as the lead-outs are concerned, the Colombian. And I expected him still to be there at the end of today, but good mark out on an incline, and Atapuma showing a little bit of an explosive nature that of course he has on more sustained and difficult inclines. This will be absolutely nothing to him, and so a good man as a mark out. And as you can see, two from UAE are also embedded here, and there's Diego Ulissi that's being dragged into position by Niemiec. Ulissi then, yeah, why not? You said, Brian, the GC men may well mix it, and Diego Ulissi, probably prime favourite to take the title by the time we get to Istanbul. He doesn't want to hang around, he's up towards the fore. Yeah,
it's constant attacks now. Willa Tristina trying to have a go now, so there's a lot of riders starting to suffer in the peloton behind. Atapuma really interested in getting involved here. But it's UAE that are showing a bit of strength towards the front, having several riders there, including Ulissi. So, yeah, this drags up and drags up all the way. It kind of tops out about 7 kilometres to go. So still a bit to go on this climb.
Two from Gazprom, where they need to be, especially in the absence of Alexander Porsev. Sadly caught up in that crash on day one and just pulled out, didn't start day two. But Trusov is here, and in fact he's not that far off the front. Sergio Lagatin as well is also embedded. 8.7 kilometres, a little less than that. And when we get to our crest, Zardini will, I'm sure, be joined, but yeah, it's getting down off it. That's going to be the big test. Just looking for the turquoise jersey, and there he is in about 30th place at the moment, just being guided. If he can hang in there, Sam Bennett, then he can re-find his legs on the descent, and indeed maybe impose himself a little bit late on. The camera, that mid camera there, just searching for Sam Bennett for you to give us a close-up and just see what his face looks like. It may be short today, Brian, but it's certainly going to feel like it's hurt.
Yeah, the bottom of the drag, it was Zardini for Bardiani in the green that attacked. A few riders trying to go across to him, but he's still hanging in there. But unfortunately, it's the team of UAE with Niemiec at the front, with Ulissi in second place. As we start to drift back a little bit to see where Sam Bennett is, he's sitting in about 25th place, just sitting in there. Still not at the top, still about just over a kilometre to the top of this climb, and Sam Bennett still hanging in there.
Well, hanging in is good enough, to be honest. Just looking through this group right now, trying to pick him out. He's a little bit further back and out of our vision for now. I was just wondering if he may well have moved up. It's Arslanov, by the way, went so well in Azerbaijan, who's also within this group. And for Gazprom, in fact, he and Pavel Brut working well together. That's Arslanov in number 73, just behind Brut. Principal rider for Caja Rural, also very much here. And time then to dig in, and our leader is just dragging himself a little. He's out the top of your screen just for the time being. That's Jonas Koch, the German. I think will go well for Sprandi, but we'll see. I think all the options for those guys who are powerful rouleurs, if you like, baroudeurs on a day such as this, may well be found out if this turns out to be an out-and-out sprint. And it looks like that's the way it may well turn out to be, as Bardiani continue to roll out off the front and reimpose themselves. They're doing a good job.
Yeah, they're being very aggressive, and Ulissi now takes it up for UAE at the front. I think the pictures of Sam Bennett talking to his teammates. I think Sam Bennett starting to struggle a little bit now, and that's why they're trying to look after the Austrian champion towards the front, and that's Mühlberger.
There we are. 7% is what they're dealing with here. It's no funny business. I actually thought Sam Bennett looked better than I thought he would. I was just moving back into place. They're on the blower, as you can see. Well, it may well be the Austrian champion that they favour a little bit later on. time for action then, and Androni always given to doing this. It's not Gavazzi who's gone off the front, is it? If it is, then he will be looking for a solo victory today. Got two teammates in his wake. Van Dam and Banfato had all kinds of problems earlier on today. I can't imagine that he's there for Androni. Very, very good work by the men in red and white. Wilier have also been extremely lively today. And here we go, just a little bit of a gap opening up, and we're cresting, Brian.
Yeah, that's it. That's the drag over, the hardest part there, the 7% towards the top. And just looking a little bit further behind, Bora Hansgrohe do have numbers, but this is the attacks we thought that would come over the top. We had this descent, and very difficult to come back, but it does look as if that wasn't hard enough to check out Sam Bennett.
There he is, just one off the back here. And interesting, Edward Tones is with him, and he's in that front group. So he's done a spectacular job. Now they just need to this is the main threat for the day. They need to get themselves down off this incline. And in fact, it's Bora teammates that have been left in the wake of Sam Bennett. What a great effort he did. Coped with it extraordinarily well, and he's the back of this line. Yeah,
riding with confidence, 2 stage wins. He was in a little bit of trouble, but he managed to stay in this front group.
6.4 kilometres from home. This is going to be over before you know it. So we're on this highway descent. A few off-camber turns as well. Looks like they're being favoured at the moment, and they're all reassembling. In fact, a big look through the pack, and as soon as anyone sees the turquoise jersey, and here he comes. In fact, he's doing his own work at the moment. Mühlberger is there. You can see the Austrian champion with the red caps to his white national jersey. And that's the sort of gap that's sustainable if they push on. And alarm bells, I'm afraid, going off for plenty a little bit further back here. My goodness, this is looking nice and busy today. So let's take on a descent, shall we? 5.6 kilometres to go. A couple of nasty turns to come up, albeit at high pace at the moment. The worst of them come right at the very last, with about 1.5 kilometres left. We've got 3 90 degrees and another turn just for good measure. And there is the Archibald, the Bullet, and he's having a chat at the moment. He isn't Bolt. He's got himself he's the Bullet Mullet. And there he is having a chat. They're talking strategy, and to have those two together, along with Gregor Mühlberger, this is a great day, potentially, for Sam Bennett. Can he three-peat?
Well, it looks good for him at the moment. You've got a group now going across to the front group, so there's probably about 40, maybe 50 riders now at the front, so a gap back to the next group. So this is going to be a fast run in towards the finishing line, and I think Bora Hansgrohe need to start to take a little bit of control of this race now if they want Sam Bennett to win this stage today into Marmaris. So many good sprinters have won here in the past, including Graipo and Cavendish, but they have to take control, because if we come off this descent, they'll get, as soon as they know that Sam Bennett is there and Edward Townes, the other riders will think that they've got no chance in the sprint and start to attack. I cannot see Banfato there for Androni, but definitely the two top sprinters are here, Townes and Sam Bennett.
Yeah, Androni Banfato was suffering even on the first climb of the day. I'm actually wondering whether he's not well. Gavazzi and Vendrame is for them. This is the head of race, and indeed the man who leads it. 100% so far. Can he continue that? Sam Bennett, the Irishman, for Bora Hansgrohe in the turquoise jersey. You can see their aquamarine helmets of his teammates, and these guys, they can maintain this sort of pace in. This is that long run. There's our destination city, Marmaris. Absolutely beautiful town, by the way. If you ever get a chance, it's gorgeous. They won't be dreaming about that. They're thinking about the turn. They'll come round the headland here and almost dispatch with the descent. Mühlberger with 3 other teammates as well as Mühlberger has Sam Bennett. So 4, 5 in total. He's got almost his entire lead out with him. And the best man to do the leading out is Shane Archibald. Maybe the conversation was just about how the lead-in will go. Is it going to be he, Brian?
Well, it looks very good for them at the moment. They do have plenty of numbers. So I think Sam Bennett is in a very good position. You see another group starting to come across now. A little bit late now, because the time they get back to the front of the race, and get organised, it's going to be very difficult. This is going to be a very fast final 2.5 kilometres. Just
look at Edward Turns in the green jersey here, also just rocking and rolling, trying to disrupt their train. He's trying everything he possibly can, and he looks like he may have to do this all on his own. He's got another teammate with him, actually, just coming up and into position. In fact, 2 of them. So, shoulders to the fore. It's now 2 kilometres then. We've got 3 big right-hand 90-degree turns to take. This is not one of them. That's one of the gentler turns. However, any moment now, they're going to be taking a right-hander, a 90-degreer, and they're all looking about each other. And in fact, they're looking for the turquoise jersey. And there he is, absolutely centre of the road at the moment. And he was looking to dispatch a late bottle, I think. Just got rid of it. Mühlberger just comes in front of our man. Just on his back wheel is Edward Turns in the green jersey, wondering what he can possibly do to get rid of Sam Bennett and the way he's reacting at the moment. There's your big right-hander. That's 190 degree dealt with. There's another turn which will come up, which is a left-hander, and then 2 left 90-degreers before you know it. Mühlberger staying here with Sam Bennett on his back wheel. I'm just wondering whether it's there's an issue with Shane Archibald for today. Making a nuisance of themselves, Androni with Gavazzi and Van Damme, I believe it is. I think Van Foto was spat out of the back. We may be wrong, but we'll wait and see. 1 kilometre to go then. And Shane Archibald's just starting to make his move right now. He's starting to chug power in and just stay in that position. Some great work as well by Belletti, who's in exactly the right place. Belletti for Villa Triestina. Well, it's starting to break down right now, and here come the 2 crucial left-handers. There's the first of them. So we've dealt with the Flamme Rouge right now, and look how narrow it is. Big squeeze. They know all about this as they come into Marmaris. There's another left-hander before it opens up, and then a gentle right bend. Here we go.
Yeah, we're just onto the paving stones now, sweep into the quayside now, and you cannot really see the finish. It's just round the bend, but Bora Hansgrohe got control.
2 teammates in front of him. Mühlberger is also there, and here goes Trek. They're sending a satellite rider up the road. Will this tempt Sam Bennett to make his move? Sam Bennett in 3rd place at the moment, and like a steam train comes Belletti, and Belletti's gone round all of them. Belletti's the man to beat today, but Sam Bennett responds. He doesn't want to give anything away. He's got the shortest line home. He's taking the right hand. Is he going to take 3 in a row? It's going to be a big challenge for him, and he's equal to it. What about that? 3 in a row for Sam Bennett. Genius at work. Good finish.
Yeah, another strong finish from Sam Bennett there, makes it 3 in a row. Edward Turns had to settle for second for the 2nd day in a row, but yeah, it was a fast finish, and with the numbers in the front, Bora Hansgrohe off that descent, took control of the race, put Bennett in the right place, and you know, you can just see that means a lot to him to finish the season with pretty much 4 wins in a row after Munster and Giro, 3 wins here. It's a super finish for the Irishman.
Absolutely superb. Well, it got pinchy, did it not? And congratulations from other teams. Mühlberger comes up. He was part of the main fighting force late on. I did think that Manuel Belletti was going to steal it there for Villa Triestina. He looked very, very good. But having kept something back, been well protected today, Sam Bennett was able to deliver on a day he was supposed to suffer, and he didn't.
Well, I think everybody suffered in that final climb, but he managed to stay with that front group and, you know, dug deep. And by digging deep, you know, it sometimes can take away from your sprint, but the looks of things, it took nothing away from Sam Bennett today. He gritted his teeth, he wanted to do it, and his team looked after him. And you know, when we come into the finish, you cannot, from when you turn onto the harbour side, you cannot see the finish. And Belletti's already won here in 2011, so he knows this finish. So he wanted to try and surprise. So that's why he came up very quickly. But Sam was patient, and when you're the fastest man in the race, you can afford to do that. And as soon as he launched, there was only going to be one winner. Edward Turns just had to follow and finish second again. So a very good win for Sam Bennett again today in Marmaris, and puts his name into the history books that for other sprinters that have won here, including Greipel twice and Mark Cavendish in 2014.
Well, let's have a look at it again. Here's the overhead. In the green jersey, it is Edward Turns. He's got a lead-out man, but decided to eschew that, jinked the other side, and found that blocking him almost was Shane Archbold. It was not him as lead-out man today. In fact, that's what the conversation was about on the approach. And you can see it's getting very, very busy at the pinch, but no panic at all. Suggestion of a little block yet again, but that shows he's got his wits about him for Sam Bennett. And this is where it really unwound, Brian.
He did. He had two riders in front of him at this moment in time. They just took the pace up. And you can just see, I think it's a Carl Reinen. It starts to go for Trek. Belletti comes from a long way back. I think too far back in that last corner, but he comes up with speed. And at this stage, he's flat out. Sam Bennett has not even started. He just picks up the pace now inside the last 200 metres. Toynes is trying to follow all the time. Belletti has already been sprinting flat out. He starts to tire. Can he hang on there for third place? It looks as if he was just beaten by one of the riders from UAE there, but a convincing win for Sam Bennett again today.
It was Consoni that had a late charge. It's all about timing, and the man who's operating like a Swiss watch right now is Sam Bennett. He's done it once more. There's the charge coming in from Simone Consoni. We said he was a good climber and a good sprinter. Proved to be. Got a podium today. Edward Turns will be disappointed that he has failed to deliver once again on a day that his team played all the right cards, but unfortunately it wasn't to be a winning hand at the end. Nope, that belongs to Sam Bennett. Perfectly judged and delivered. Lovely afternoon here, Brian. I'm thinking of an FS.
Good for you.
Yeah, what about yourself?
No, I'll just stick to the water for now. I need to calm down after that exciting finish.
What about tomorrow? We're heading to Selçuk. Always enjoy a visit to Selçuk, and it's a proper uphill finish. I don't think Sam Bennett's going to be winning that.
No, I think he knows that. That jersey, he's going to lose that tomorrow because I can't see him finishing within 30 seconds of the winner tomorrow. And he knows that. He's come here to win as many stages as he can. He's won 3. He can win another 2 stages after tomorrow. He's got a strong enough team, and he's got the form. He hung on because Toynes was just behind him over the top of the climb as well, and Trek Segafredo are having to settle for second and third places now because the fastest man is Sam Bennett. They tried something different today with Gregory Daniel. It didn't come off in the end, but I'm sure that they'll have a go tomorrow for the stage with their GC riders.
The jet ski display team are doing their thing. Possibly the most annoying watercraft ever invented. Just noisy. No fun for anyone else apart from the person on them. Sam Bennett made the big noise today. 3 in a row. Job done for him, and indeed Bora Hansgrohe, who was superb. Tomorrow,